Hello, and welcome to another Railway Series book review. This time I am doing a review on Thomas the Tank Engine, the new collection. This is a book that contains volumes 27 to 41 of the Railway Series, and these were written by Christopher Awdry. For those who don't know, he is the Reverend's son. And so here it is. This book continues from this book right here with his dad's stories on them, but this has its own review, so if you want to see that review, check that out. I recommend it. And so, here it is. This has the 27th to 41st books, as I said, and however though, the 42nd book is not included in this, but I do have this as a separate book right here. So yeah, you may be wondering, why isn't the 42nd book included on this? Because since it was written by Christopher Awdry, just like the others. Well, here's the answer. This book came out in 2007, the year the 41st book, Thomas and Victoria, had came out, and at that time this book didn't exist, because this came out in 2011 to celebrate Wilbert Awdry's centenary, because he was born in 1911, so that weren't there at the time, so that's why it's not there. But yeah, I'm saying, if this would have been around at the time, it would have been included in this book. So yeah. So anyway, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open the book, as you can see here. Here's the contents page of all the books, and I'm going to read the foreword of this book. So here we go. Foreword. Dear friends, Back in May 1945, when the first of my father's books, The Three Railway Engines, was published, it certainly wouldn't have occurred to my not quite 5-year-old mind that I would be writing a foreword for a collection of my own stories 60 plus years later. Even a mere 6 years later, when a great Yarmouth on 31st of August 1951, my father and I encountered the ex-Great Eastern Railway tram engine, which became the prototype for Toby, I was no wiser. What that August evening may have done was to give me the beginning of the idea of how and why stories are conceived and written, and perhaps it was then that the first seeds of this book were sown. But it was another 5 years before I announced to a school friend that I wanted to write for a living, and still longer before my initial efforts turned into anything that could be published. In 1982, busy with the research for a magazine article, I visited one of Britain's many heritage railways. During a conversation with an engine driver, he made the connection between my surname and Thomas. "Why don't you carry on writing the stories?" he queried. "One of the reasons why my father gave up," I replied, "is that he felt that he was running out of ideas. Well, he's forgotten more about railways than I know, so what chance does that give me?" "No problem," he said. "I can give you an idea. It happened here only last week." So he did, and I went away and thought about it. Eventually I decided to see what I could do. I'd never written a Thomas story and thought it might be interesting to try. Besides, my son Richard had over the last few months heard all my father's stories at bedtime three or four times over, and I felt like a change even if he didn't. Thus, Triple Header was born. It worked fairly well, so over the next couple of months I put together another 3 stories, all based on ideas taken from my railway reading. Then, having concluded my writing exercise reasonably satisfactorily, I put the whole lot to one side. The following March, my parents came to stay, and during a lull while we awaited their taxi home, I produced the stories as a talking point. Do Kay and Ward, as my father's publishers were then known, know about these? My father asked. Good heavens, no. Why should they? Was my reply. He suggested that I send them to his editor, who duly presented them at their next production meeting, where they seemed to have greeted with what the popular press now calls acclaim. What they all knew, and what I did not, was that Britt Allcroft's first TV series was due to air in October 1984. For Kay and Ward to have a brand new addition to the series before then was most timely. Whatever, it was certainly a breakthrough so far as I was concerned. Over the following years, until 1995, there were 14 titles, bringing the Railway series to a total of 40. With the 2007 publication of Thomas and Victoria, it has reached 41. I am delighted to welcome this collection of my stories. It is similar in style to the volume produced in recent years of my father's stories, but has one notable difference. His used work by 4 different illustrators, whereas this uses only one, Clive Spong, whose work is, I think, superb, and who has already done more Railway series books than anyone else. Any children's writer knows how important illustration is, and I commend his work. Compiling the tales themselves over the years has taken me to many places, and been a truly enjoyable exercise. I hope that the reading of them will just be as much fun. The author. Okay, so that was the foreword to this book, which Christopher had written. Just like this book, this has a foreword as well, just like that. But yeah, if you want to know about that, I recommend you check the other review out. Anyway, let's talk about this book. Okay, this book will not have its own review. It'll just share the same one as this, because it's got Christopher's stories as well. So anyway, it has a text on the back. I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to let you read this. So if you want, you could pause the video, and if you can, you try to read it. So yeah. Right. This book was made for the memorial of Wilbert Awdry, in case if you know. You know, if this would have been included in that, I wouldn't have got this as a separate book. But yeah, oh well. A book's a book, I suppose. So yeah, that's it for this book, and I'll see you next time.